Today we talk about how long your vermouth is going to last. Welcome to Common Cocktails. I'm your host, Derrick Schommer. Today we're going to talk about the shelf life of a vermouth. Vermouth is a fortified wine, so what that fortification means is that, unlike a wine, vermouth has additional alcohol added to it, so it's going to last longer. However, that doesn't mean it's going to last forever. You're really looking at about 3 to 6 months for an open bottle of vermouth to last before it's time to dump it down the drain. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bad. It's not going to spoil so that if you have, on month 7, you take a sip and all of a sudden you start throwing up and you have food poisoning for 3 days. It's not milk. The organic molecules within any type of wine, especially, even in vermouth, they're going to get softer. They're going to taste a little bit different as time goes on due to oxidation. So oxidation is not going to cause these microbes to jump in there and start making you sick when you drink it. It's going to just taste a little bit flatter. It's going to lose its pungency, its vibrancy, a lot of its aromatics. But there are microbes that can get into an organic product like a wine or a vermouth. The difference is the microbes in here probably aren't going to kill you or make you sick. What they're going to do is they're going to chew on your alcohol and they're going to poop out vinegar. So that means over time some of the alcohol is actually being taken out and replaced with something that you're probably not expecting to put in your cocktails. Maybe on an Italian sandwich or a steak bomb, but not necessarily something you're going to be putting in your cocktails. If you want to slow down this chemical process, the easiest thing to do is put it in a refrigerator. If you look at some of the Via products, I'm not sure, I think even this might have a real cork on it, but what I've noticed is a lot of products are putting on more of a screw cap, which is giving you a little bit tighter of a seal to try and keep the oxygen out. I personally like the smaller bottles over the larger bottles because I'm not a huge vermouth drinker. And that means that there's less room for oxygen. I can drink this a little bit quicker, and rather than having a big bottle like this that's half full, even though this one's kind of getting there, all of this headspace, this oxygen, is going to even cause a more rapid oxidation. So if you really need to preserve your vermouth for longer, and the refrigerator is just one method, there's 2 other things you could do. You could use one of those wine pumps and pull out the oxygen before you settle it, or a wine saver, I think they're called. Or you could just rebottle it into a smaller bottle so that there's less headspace. You could also fill it with some inert gas, but I'm not a chemist. I don't have inert gas just kind of hanging around, so that's not really for me. It's also commonly believed that sweet vermouth is going to last longer than a dry vermouth. So if you have a sweet vermouth and you're looking at the 6-month time frame, it's probably going to be okay. If you have a dry vermouth and you're looking at the 6-month time frame, it might get a little off. Now, if you're not a huge vermouth drinker, you might not even notice. I've had vermouths for 8, 9 months, a year and 3 months, and whatever, I don't necessarily know. But I would also not use that to necessarily serve to a martini drinker that comes over for a party, and I wouldn't use it for taste testing, and I wouldn't do a blind comparison with it, because at that point, it's kind of aged out and it's lost some of its vibrancy. Or most. Vermouth also isn't like a wine in which they get better with time. If you buy a nice expensive wine, 5, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years rested, and it gets better with age. Not all wines, but some of the higher end wines. Vermouth is not like that. Vermouth has a time period. The standard rule is use it within a year of its bottling. If you don't know when it was bottled, use it within a year. If you're buying it at the store and it's full of dust, go to a different store. So here are the tips. Buy a bottle of vermouth around the time you plan to use it. When you open a bottle, if you're not going to use it all, suck out some of the oxygen with a wine saver. Then, add it to your refrigerator to slow down the process. Keep it in an area that has a consistent temperature. If you're not going to put it in the refrigerator, put it in your basement, put it someplace where the temperature tends to be cool and consistent. Keep it away from UV light. There's a reason why they're put into dark bottles. UV breaks down the organic matter within alcohol. It breaks down everything. So, if you want it to taste off faster, sure, throw it in the middle of some sunlight. But in general, keep it in a cool, dark place. After 6 months, if you still have the bottle, give it a taste. If you like the results, put it away, give it another month. Try it again later. And if you're not a huge vermouth drinker, try to buy smaller bottles. Don't buy cheap $6 bottles. Buy something that's more expensive in a smaller size, like these smaller Vias. If you're a big vermouth drinker, this probably won't last that long anyway. If you plan on drinking vermouth a lot, or you're having a party where vermouth's going to be a big participant in the play, don't necessarily worry about how much it's going to age over how much time. You're probably not going to last that long with it anyway. So there you go. Go buy yourself vermouth and treat it with respect. We're teaching you how to drink. Take your vodka, put it in your hand. Not all of it, because 750 milliliters isn't going to fit in your hand unless you have some really big hands. And then do this. You clean them together, just like it's hand sanitizer.